Welcome to Triple Click Surprise. It's a bonus episode. I'm Jason Schreier.
And I'm Maddy Myers.
And I'm Kirk Hamilton.
Hello, Kirk and Maddy. We are here, second episode on the same day because we just watched the PlayStation 5 event and we figured we'd talk about it. All you people out there who are like, oh, Triple Click doesn't talk about the news. Well, guess what?
Wait, Jason, what are they like?
They're like, oh.
I like how wrong people always speak in that voice. Like Demon Souls isn't a very good game.
I haven't actually played Demon Souls. I'm excited for the remake for that reason.
It's a good game. Those people who speak like that are wrong.
Yeah, I believe you.
Who
I believe people who say that.
Way to skip to the end of this discussion and just talk about Demon Souls. We
Let's
can do that if you want.
First of all, I just want to say,
Demon
by the way,
Souls.
we're all going to call Resident Evil 8, but a press release just arrived in my inbox saying Capcom developing the next generation of survival horror with Resident Evil Village. So apparently that really is the name, is Resident Evil Village.
I think it's both. I think it's Village and Resident Evil 8. I guess.
It's so
I don't know. Game
It's so
titles
funny.
are wild
It's
now.
well, and they
Ridiculous.
did the 7 in the Resident Evil itself for Resident Evil 7, which so maybe that was technically just called Resident Evil. And
but is that guy going to say 8 in a really low voice when you boot it up? Because that's all that truly
That's a
matters
good
in a Resident Evil game.
All right, we're jumping around. Let me zoom out for a second. So this was the first real PlayStation 5 event before they just talked about it in magazine articles and also did that GDC thing with Mark Cerny where he just gave us some ASMR
ears.
technical specs and wanted photos of our ears.
Talked about ears.
So this is our first look at like actual games that are coming to the PlayStation 5. And so
Yes.
first of all, let's talk about big picture thoughts before we break it down and talk about some of the games they announced. So Kirk, why don't you start us off? Like, what did you think of the event overall?
It was fun to watch something. I just have been so like depressed and, like, I don't know, I'm sure you can both relate that like just watching a thing that was pretty popcorny and dumb a lot of the time. It was just like the video game stuff of like, get excited about this thing. It was just sort of
an E3
nice.
press conference.
Yeah.
This week was supposed to be
It was
E3.
basically an E3 press conference.
Yeah.
So I found that just sort of pleasant, if a little bit kind of jarring with how I'm feeling in general most of the time. But I did like just sort of watching it, and I appreciated how different a lot of the games looked. Like there was definitely some OMG graphic stuff, but we're just kind of past that. I mean, a lot of these games just look the same way as PS4 games look to me. Like they just look amazing. Like some of the stuff looked incredible, but
A lot of
it was,
stylized stuff.
But
Yeah.
that I liked that there were some things, just a couple of things where I didn't know what the game was. We'll get to them. That I just really was like, ooh, that looks really nice. And they announced Hitman 3, which is like, that's going to be more Hitman. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So, I had a good time watching it. I thought it was pretty fun. And I think I'll get into more specific stuff, I guess, as we get going.
Yeah, we'll talk about specifics later. Maddy, any overall thoughts, general impressions?
Sure. I'll just say that I really enjoyed this simply from the standpoint of missing E3 a little bit this past week and thinking a lot about how like last year we were all hanging out with our peers in the industry and like seeing people in person.
You've become such a AAA gamer. You're like, oh, I miss E3.
Yeah, but I also kind of miss the vibe of covering E3 even from home and like getting excited
100%.
about the announcements and like participating in an event along with my colleagues, and having that experience again felt so much better than I was expecting it to, because I was like, oh my God, finally something I know how to do and like have some semblance of control over.
Yeah.
But
I
then
totally felt
also
that.
like what Kirk said, like feeling excited about video games that are coming out and being like, damn, these look really cool, and just feeling that way was a blessing for me after the past few weeks of our lives.
Yeah, agreed. I was actually thinking, like, I was getting a little depressed thinking about how this week I should have been in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
and
same.
not being there, this is the first E3 that I haven't gone to. Obviously, nobody went to it, but since,
Right.
like, 2010. So, like, every single year this week I would have been in LA, like, seeing old friends. I'm, like, meeting new people. Unrelated, by the way, something I've been thinking about is, like, how this pandemic really prevents you from meeting anyone new, which is
Yeah.
kind of a weird concept.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, my overall thoughts were I enjoyed it. I had a good time watching the thing. Some of the games just did nothing for me, but others made me think, oh, huh. And then a couple of them got me really excited. The two that got me most excited, we will get to a little bit later, but Horizon 2 and Project Athia. But we'll talk about those as we go. So why don't we just go through all the announcements so we can kind of react to each of them.
I'm surprised that you weren't as excited as I was about the very first reveal. Which
Yeah,
was
same.
thrilling.
The very very first was a real bombshell. Gotta wonder what was the thought process behind this. It must have involved money somehow, because the first thing they showed was Grand Theft Auto 5, which came out in 2013. And the funny thing is,
a new game?
I think it would have been like totally cool and impressive if they had shown it running on PS5, but they were very deliberate about saying this is PS4 footage of the game. So they couldn't even show next gen footage of it. Hello, baby. They couldn't even show next gen footage of the game, which is hilarious. Yeah, she's pissed. My daughter is very upset about that. But yeah, they announced that it's coming to PS5 remastered next year, but didn't actually show us what it'll be like on PS5.
I was half expecting Skyrim to come after that.
Yeah, Skyrim's going to come out
and
next.
Also Skyrim. Yeah.
I will say that I know a lot of people out there, especially a lot of like rabid GTA fans, probably skewing younger, have been upset because I said that GTA 6 was kind of early and was in early development and will be out for another few years. I think if GTA 5 coming out next year to PS5 isn't evidence of that, then like I don't know what else you'll believe, because GTA 6 is a ways away. Like I would not expect that game for, I mean, maybe like at the end of 2022. 2023 I think is more realistic for a game like that. Anyway, so that was the uninteresting part. Then they came out with a bombshell right away with Spider-Man Miles Morales. And it's worth noting this is not Spider-Man 2. I think this is going to be more like the Uncharted Lost Legacy of Spider-Man games, which makes a lot of sense based on the first story and the first game's story. It would make sense that they do a bridge game based on Miles Morales, and then that leads into the plot of Spider-Man 2. But yeah, you guys excited about that one?
I'm super excited about it, and I'm also pretty excited that our pal Evan Narcissus, who was just on this week's episode of the show, is working on the game, because Evan's great, and I love reading his comics, and I love his takes, so I'm very excited specifically about an Evan Narcissus Spider-Man game.
He just told me he was consulting on it, not writing
Still
it. Still
pretty cool, though.
Still very exciting.
Anybody who trusts Evan's take, I'm definitely interested in the game that they're going to make.
The really cool thing about this is that it is coming this holiday. So this is a launch game, essentially, or like an around launch game, which is really cool. I don't think anyone expected a Spider-Man game at launch.
I didn't expect a game at launch that I was like actually really interested in, because I feel like usually launch games are the ones that are kind of not.
Yeah. It's rare.
So I know
have,
trying
like,
to pin down particulars here is always a little tricky, but is this also going to be on PS4, this game?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It would surprise me if it weren't, given that it's like Spider-Man looks amazing and runs already on PS4 and it didn't get an expansion. So this maybe isn't a like PS5 launch game, but also who knows? I am excited about it as well. I feel like since I'm trying to remember when exactly Spider-Verse came out, but Miles Morales really had a moment with that movie, even though a lot of people knew who he was and everyone was talking about him. And I know Evan has really liked Miles as a character for a long time, which is one reason it's cool he's involved with this. But you know, since the first Spider-Man came out, then Spider-Verse came out, and it was like, oh, it's a lot cooler, actually, when Miles Morales is the protagonist of a Spider-Man game, particularly given the way that Spider-Man has that whole cop thing, like we were talking about on that episode. Like, they could probably maybe do some more interesting stuff with that. This game, so I'll be curious to see it, and yes, definitely looking forward to it.
I've been looking up to see if they've said that it's coming to PS4 also, but so far I haven't seen anything.
We'll see.
But it would be kind of weird if they made people buy another console for this, if it's kind of like continuing where the first one left off, but who knows? I don't know. So what else? They announced Gran Turismo 7, a new car game. I mean, I don't know if that excites either of you.
It's got cars.
Car games don't excite me.
This one cracked me up only because like it looked good. Like the cars always look real in these games, but they have since like literally the PlayStation 2 or something. I feel like every time you're like, ooh, that looks like a real car, I guess. And this still looked like a real car. And so this was an interesting one to put so early on because GTA 5, that was like its own reasons, and also like the most popular game in the world or whatever. And Spider-Man was like a huge Sony game, and that was just like an exciting reveal. And then like the next game, Ratchet and Clank, which I know we're about to talk about, that would have been a good third game, because that felt a little more to me like these are some cool things we can do with the PlayStation 5, where Gran Turismo, I was just kind of like, oh yeah, it's like a car. I'm sure this is fun, like this is a car game, but it didn't do a lot for me, only because I'm not usually into car games.
The whole order of it all just felt very random to me. I don't know what their thought process was, or if they just kind of pick names out of a hat, but a lot of it felt pretty random.
They just put their YouTube channel on shuffle. They're like, just go. We'll let the algorithm figure it out.
Which is fine. I mean,
that's fine.
Oh, no,
I
whatever,
I
yeah.
was in our Bloomberg Slack, someone was like, "This is kind of like a random order," and I was like, "Yeah, this is just how video game events are." Like, if you ever watched E3, it's just there's no structure whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's funny because like people who are used to covering tech events like see a certain like Apple events always have a certain structure to them, but
Yeah.
this is just totally random. So there was a new Ratchet and Clank which looked amazing, like super really slick graphics and cool effects and particles and just looked really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those games always look good and are always very fun. And at this point, especially since that movie came out, like they just look like movies basically. And the thing this game has going for it that I will be curious to hear more about was it was the first time my ears perked up, or I guess my eyes perked up, and I was like, oh, I feel like now I'm maybe seeing something that I couldn't have seen on a PS4, which is that dimensional warping.
Yeah.
Because that's when you like the way people talk about that stuff of like you can load the entire game at once and you can just go between two places. I'm picturing things like that Titanfall 2 time travel level or the Dishonored 2 level where you're traveling in time and like two levels exist and have loaded in on top of one another so you can instantaneously move between them. And watching that video anyways, who knows if this will actually work, but when you see them go from like, this like verdant fantasy world to like a cyberpunk city in 1 second, or not even a second, just instantly in the middle of a fight. I'm thinking of like that fight scene at the end of Thor: The Dark World, which I randomly rewatched not that long ago, where they're punching each other and they keep flying into alternate dimensions and it's really fun. That seems potentially cool. So
Definitely. And there are multiple games in this list that have a similar mechanic where a character like jumps into another place. So it's interesting if that turns out to be like a hallmark of PS5 games.
Right,
is
like
that
a new thing that's
a
really
mechanic
possible.
that designers can take more advantage of.
Yeah, that
for
is
sure.
just like all this data we have loaded. Yeah, I was thinking, the one thing I was thinking is that like a game like Horizon or any sort of open world game, they could have all the interiors loaded, and so you could be like seamlessly moving. Because right now, when you go into an open
no
world
more
game,
doorways, no more long door opening animation.
or like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a perfect example. Like, yeah, like what if they have more different, more realistic like apartments in New York when you're climbing around the
that
city.
seems to me like Spider-Man 2 will have that.
Maybe.
I feel like this is going to be running on the same game they already made,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
at some point, yeah.
Next up was Project Athia, a new IP from Luminous Productions, which is one of Square Enix's development studios. We didn't see a lot of this. We just saw kind of like a woman main character like summoning elements and stuff. Kirk, you're laughing.
It looked cool.
It did look cool.
So well, I'm laughing because we're reading along with my notes. Can I say, Maddie, to echo the thing you said at the beginning, that making notes for this, like I was just like, I'm going to make notes. And it was a comforting feeling of just, this is something I used to do all the
Yes,
time, is
right?
make roundups of these things. So I was like, whatever. But my notes say, Project Athia, what is this? And then quote, designed exclusively for the PS5. What does that mean, LOL?
I have no answer for
So
you.
it's funny. It's funny you said that because I just opened up the press release and it says PS5 and PC. So there's your answer. Is that it means they're trying to say exclusive, but not.
Yep. Because my notes, I had written PS5 exclusive. Then I was like, that is not what it says. And they're always so specific with that kind of wording. So I bet, okay, interesting.
100%. They're just trying to fool people. It's such
Right.
like blatant like lying, and it's amazing how gamers are just like eating
I
up.
remember an article I wrote forever ago at a Microsoft press conference that was like all of the things the word exclusive can mean now.
Yeah.
Because they would
Yeah.
be like exclusive before every game, and it would be like exclusive on Xbox for 1 month, exclusive console on Xbox, but also on PC for like. There's so many different meanings. So, anyways, that's I guess what designed exclusively for the PS5 means. It means nothing.
Let me read to you this is kind of like the logo or like the info underneath the big key art. On
Wait,
the
can I
press
guess?
release.
Can I guess? It's her destiny, a choice,
Close.
consequences,
For power.
Close.
her power.
You guys ready? I'm going to read you
Yeah.
the whole thing. It's a few
Great.
lines.
Go.
In a world not her own, where resolve will be tested, truths will be questioned, and devotions will be doubted, she will rise.
Wow, there's a lot of passive voice. I noticed a lot of passive voice in a lot of these.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, she
Yeah,
will rise.
They're taking after all those cowardly headlines about people
Yeah,
dying
about
of police
policemen.
using passive voice. Let's move on. Although I am excited for that because it's Square Enix making a new thing, and that always excites me.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
like JRPG action
Yeah,
JRPG.
it looked beautiful. I mean, sure. It gave me a little, I will say actually, it gave me a little bit of a Deep Down vibe. Remember Deep Down? It was kind of the same thing where it's like
Deep Down was announced at the PS4 reveal
right,
event, by the
and
way.
then it like just never comes out. Like people
Never
will
came
be
out.
maybe joking about Project Athia in like 8 years. They'll be like, remember Project Athia? And then they like, it never was anything. So could maybe be that.
No, but that is legit, I will say. Luminous Productions is like, it's a studio they started like specifically to make new stuff.
I'm going to remember you said that in 2030 when it's still not out.
Anyway, I'm excited for that. Next up was Stray, which is a game about sad cats.
Yes.
Sad robots. Really, the robots were very sad. The cat was kind of helpful.
I just said, Kirk, you're correcting your own notes. Your notes say sad cats. So
it does.
You're right.
Here. That's a really good point.
You're right. Sad robots.
But a game where you get to play as a cat, pretty exciting. I'm not sure if that's what it is.
I'm glad you're correcting the notes after.
I've added. It now says sad robots in parentheses with a cat.
With a cat. Are you the robot? Are you the
cat.
cat? Are you both of them? I'm intrigued. I'm interested in playing more games where you're a cat.
There's a lot to get through, so let's crank through a couple of these.
This was a big cat. This was a big cat year, though. I'm gonna say, sometimes it's dogs. This was cats.
This was cats.
A lot more cats.
Are back.
Housemarque, which is a pretty good developer that makes a lot of arcade games, is making Returnal, which is I think it's a roguelike, and that's why it had that premise of like attack, die, because it's a rogue. It's a roguelike.
It's always funny when a video game makes that the premise. They're like, I die, and then I wake up again, and I do it again. It's like, yeah, you're the main character of a video game. Like, welcome to hell. This is your life.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's Edge of Tomorrow, basically, except as a video game.
That looked cool. I mean, Housemarque makes good games. I thought the setup was like a lot of rope to let out for what then looked to me basically like an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter. I do want to say, I know we moved on from Stray, but I actually loved the aesthetic of that game with the sad robots and the cat, and I like super want to play that. So I do want to throw that out there so we don't gloss over it too fast. That was a highlight for me.
Cool. New Sackboy adventure game, which looked great.
Did it? I mean, so this was a Sackboy adventure that I'm guessing is not a Little Big Planet game. So having played a lot of those games,
Little Big Planet spinoff.
Right, so it's just a platformer. What I mean by that, though, sorry, is that it is
you're not going to be able
a
to make stuff in it. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it is not a user-generated content-oriented game, which would always be fine with me because I never made stuff in Little Big Planet, and I do like the vibe and the music of Little Big Planet, but I've never loved the platforming in those games because it's physics-based and a little bit weird, and I could never get my head around it. So actually, I don't know. I mean,
it might be competing if both that and Ratchet and Clank come out at launch. They might be kind of competing with one another. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Well, Ratchet and Clank is more of like a shooter. Like that's more of a like third person.
True, but it's
shooter.
Platform-y.
And it's cute, and so they're the same game.
Right. They are both cute.
Kirk, you wrote here some destruction game.
No, some driving game.
Some driving game.
Important clarification.
Sorry, but the real name is Destruction All Stars. That's why.
Okay,
that's right.
I feel bad for the people making that game because I did not write down that was like the one name that I missed.
Yeah,
it
looked whatever.
It looked fine. It looked like one of those. I mean, it's the kind of thing where maybe every time I dismiss a game like that, I then
ends up
think
like
about
taking the world by storm and being the next Fortnite or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I always think of Rocket League, and I'm like, well, that I would have maybe dismissed that and be like, this looks silly, and then it wound up being this massive thing. So who knows? It might be really cool.
Yeah, it's like a car destruction multiplayer game.
I mean, we also all dismiss Gran Turismo, and those games are huge and have like tons of people who are into driving games.
Right. And I guess it's just being like that doesn't totally look like my thing, but I'm sure some people.
Let's go through a couple more. Kena Bridge of Spirits. This game looked really cool. It was very Cameo. I thought of that too. Or
Cameo, Elements of Power.
Cameo.
Yeah. Or Cameo. Cameo, I think is
Cameo.
Which is not a great game. It reminded me of Zelda. It looked like, Studio Ghibli, and it looked like Ori and the Blind Forest. Like it had that just kind of, there's a ton of graphics in this, and the trees look really beautiful.
This is a pretty adventure game that is going to like make you cry a little bit and also make you feel warm inside.
Some feeling.
Yeah, it looked
cool.
Neat. I would play that.
Oh yeah, beautiful looking.
A furry game called Goodbye Volcano High. That reminded me of BoJack Horseman as I was watching that trailer. I was like, wow, this is BoJack.
I can see that. Yeah.
And so this is really, and I wrote furry, though I believe it is dinosaurs. So it is more, I think,
anthropomorphic beings.
Right. They're not particularly, they're not
Goodbye
fur-covered.
Volcano,
right.
Because they're saying goodbye. I don't know.
Right. But that looked really cute. I thought it looked
really
nice.
cute. Fun art style for that game.
And this was kind of where, because Kena Bridge of Spirits was so like graphics mega blowout that then following it with like a clearly stylized, not
like 2D drawn animations and stuff like that. Yeah, very different look was kind of fun.
Right. Was
it's like,
nice.
oh right,
Yeah, I like
there's
that.
a bunch of different stuff in this presentation. That was
It had a kind of Night in the Woods look with like,
Yeah.
we're kind of misfit animals when we're making a band, like the same sort of
I'm always
idea.
down for that. Give me some misfit
Yeah.
animals in a band anytime.
For sure.
And I believe that former Kotaku contributor Kate Gray is the lead writer of this.
Oh, that's super
narrative
cool.
director of this game.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so,
That's awesome.
cool. Let's keep going. A new Oddworld game, Oddworld Soulstorm. Looked like an Oddworld game. I don't know.
It's an Oddworld
It was
game.
Lemmings-ish.
It looked pretty hardcore to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've played like Abe's Odyssey, I guess, and those games are always very dark because it's like my memory is basically, you know, like a genetically engineered slave race that just you die over and over and over and over again, and it's just a very bleak world where you're just this like almost sentient like product that came to life and is trying to get out of this horrible factory. And this looked like that too, with even more like done up, you know, cutscenes and like emotions, and Abe like cutting the lip ties open. And I was like, okay, like for the mood I'm in right now, no, this isn't doing it for me. Like I'd rather just play a Mario game. But,
I hear that.
but
I
you
hear
know,
that.
like those games are always really well designed and clever, and so like maybe by the time it comes out, I will be more into it.
And then we got to see a new Bethesda game, Ghostwire Tokyo, which was announced last year.
A new Bethesda published game. This is the Tango game.
oh, yeah,
this
that's
is from
it.
the makers of Evil
Yes,
Within.
sorry, I think of Bethesda, the publisher, because like it was announced at the Bethesda conference. Anyway, we got to see that.
Looks cool.
Yeah, I was surprised this wasn't a VR game. Or
Yeah.
like it seemed like a VR game to me. It was so this like what's the word? Like a kind of a puree of Evil Within stuff, which itself is like a puree of horror game things, like the hairy lady and the weird faceless like schoolgirl and the like. It's just all these things that you've seen in Silent Hill before. And then the gameplay to me just it looked odd. I wasn't like they make good games. I really liked Evil Within 2. So
It looked interesting. I don't know. I
I'll
don't
play
really
it.
know what to make of it.
right,
Yeah.
it looked like a VR game every time they cut to the actual gameplay. So I was like, what is this game exactly? So
Yeah, you were surprised
I'll be
about that.
curious to know more about that.
And then a new Super Brothers game. Super Brothers are the makers of Sword and Sorcery. And what else have they done anything since then?
No, Cappy
they-
Cappy
Yeah, they
made
didn't do Below,
but they
right?
worked with, I think this
They
is a
worked with
similar
Cappy on
thing where
Below.
Super Brothers is working with Pine Scented, which I don't actually know what
Okay.
that is, but I'm assuming is maybe another developer, because Cappy
Okay.
and Super Brothers worked together on Sword and Sorcery, which I love that game. And this game I thought looked awesome. Obviously, I don't
Yeah.
know what it is. It's like
What's it called? The Far Shore?
It's called The
That's
Far
it?
Shore.
It's like space exploration, but the trailer was super just evocative and vague and just made it seem like
Right.
it was going to be about space exploration, but not a ton beyond that.
I just want to say, by the way, so like up until this point, there haven't been a lot of guns. There haven't been a lot of like it at least
Yeah,
at this
no,
point
it
in the
was
show, like,
noticeable.
it was just like very noticeable that it was just like a whole variety of genres and different types of gameplay, and that is extremely cool and admirable for Sony to be doing this as like their big launch event. Is like, here's a bunch of interesting stuff, including like this furry narrative game and like other things that you would never see it.
and like a bunch of exploration games and like
Yeah.
things about
Well, it's just
feelings
such a
and-
contrast from like E3 conferences of even a couple of years ago, and how like game companies have really branched out. It's cool to see.
Yeah, and I mean, there was no really EA like Battlefield stuff, and there was no Call of Duty. So like the big war games just kind of weren't there. So you also didn't have the 5 minutes where it's people talking on the radio while like machine guns kill people. And that
Yeah.
I agree, that was nice. And I just want to say the Far Shore. I hope they get Jim Guthrie to do the music. He did the music to Sword and Sorcery, and is a big part of why I love that game so much. And it sounded like him. The music did sound like his music, and it just reminded me of Interstellar, but in a good way, because like I don't love that movie, but I do like the first part of that movie, and just the idea of
and the themes are good, you know?
yeah, like of like a doomed world and setting out from it to find a new place, and then they just cut to these like beautiful,
Oh, yeah.
you know, tantalizing like landscapes of these alien planets, and I was like, okay, but then they're also showing the faces of actual characters, and it isn't going to be some, you know, super zoomed out game. Like there's going to be actual characters in it. I was
So
like,
it's not
okay,
No Man's Sky.
Right.
I'm down for this. If it's got like kind of an Outer Wilds vibe, that'd be
Yeah,
fine with me.
that'd be
And
cool.
this one I thought looked really nice.
Moving on. So next up, they showed Godfall, which is a game that had been announced in the past. It's published by
teased,
Gearbox. It's like kind of. I didn't think it looked that great. This is actually one of the least impressive games I thought.
You can master breathtaking weapons, though.
Yeah.
They're breathtaking.
Play
It's
as
funny,
like
so-
a bear wolf character that like is wearing a bunch
Yeah.
of armor and like swings a sword around. Yeah.
So this was the point where I tweeted right after the Super Brothers game. I tweeted, you can tell it's not an E3 press conference because there's no guns and dubstep, and then they immediately announced this game with guns and dubstep.
Yeah.
Which is just very Gearbox. Next up was a game from the makers of Hyperlight Drifter, which I think will sell a lot of people. Solar Ash, I believe it was called. Looked really interesting.
Oh yeah,
and
it looked
cool.
awesome. It looked just as cool as Hyperlight Drifter looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much like a conceptual tease where it just sort of really briefly showed what the actual game is. So who knows what the game is, but it's probably
like
good
a lot of
because Hyperlight
primary
is
colors and like big
Yeah.
shapes and just sort of minimalist design in the visuals, which is distinctive and cool looking.
Next up, we had to check if Kirk was still breathing because they announced Hitman 3.
It was a cool as shit trailer, and I don't even play
Yep.
these games. I was thinking of you, man. I was like, this
Yeah,
is a cool
no, it looked
trailer.
great. And it's like I mainly am excited because I know exactly what it will be. It will be more Hitman. It will be good. IO Interactive has gotten very good at making these games.
It's just
also,
it's incredible how short it is from because they announced it for January, and that's only like 2.5 years after. No, less than 2.5 years after.
I think
Hitman
they've
2.
got a good thing going because they release new locations at later points too. So I'm sure it'll launch with like 5 or 6 new locations, and then each location you get like 40 hours out of it if you want. Like there's like an endless amount of stuff to do, and they're so good now at iterating it. Or the sense I get anyways is that they are.
Yeah, I think if you're a game developer and you can make a map that generates like so much content out of the one map, that's like paradise for game makers.
Yeah, especially for single player game. Like a lot of multiplayer games get that, but for a single player game for the kind of person like a person like me who likes simulated games, it's great. And then it showed 47 like doing the Mission Impossible thing and like climbing up a skyscraper in Dubai to like murder some rich asshole. And I'm like, yes, I'll play this. Sounds great.
Yeah, it would be cool to see, by the way, just like riffing on that a little bit, it would be cool to see like a Dishonored style game that took that Hitman style and just like had maps, but like instead of just running around and putting on uniforms and sneaking, you could actually use powers and stuff like to accomplish different things across these maps. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, I'd love the
I had.
Hitman approach to like be applied to more games. It's like a great way to make a game because you can get so much more out of it.
It's cheaper. Yeah, it's easier on people. Yeah, and especially a series like Dishonored, which has not like Dishonored 2 didn't sell well, and so it seemed like they put the series on ice because Arcane is doing something else that we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, it would be cool to see that sort of thing. Next up, there was an Astrobot game that doesn't do anything for me. I don't know about you guys.
Though I will say, Astrobot Rescue Mission may be the best PSVR game or one of the really well-made games, so that could be super fun if the same people designed it.
Again, another indie game called Little Devil Inside, which looks pretty cool.
Pretty cool. This was like the most amazing looking thing to me anyway.
Yeah.
It's like that trailer was incredible. If people listening to this didn't want to watch the whole thing, if you just want to see one totally baller trailer, that I was like the whole time I was like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah.
This game looks like Inside, which is funny that it's called Little Devil Inside because it has a similar kind of like what's the word? It's like kind of gauzy art style.
It reminds me of that game with the time travel. What was that game called with like the masks and the time travel?
Oh, you're talking about
Sexy Brutale.
The Sexy Brutale.
Yeah, it reminded me of that like graphically. But also very Pixar-ish.
Right, but gameplay-wise, it was totally wild. So I think the idea is that you're playing a little guy who goes inside of this old man, and then inside the old man, there's like a fantasy dimension. And then the stuff the guy was doing, it just kept going. It was like fighting a dragon, climbing on a crazy cliff. Like it looks like the amount of stuff that we saw in the Horizon 2 trailer later, only in this really cool art style with all these like funny visual gags and this really charming like handmade like sculpture look. I was like, what is this? This looks so cool. And maybe it won't be, but just the breadth of things that were in that trailer, I like almost want to watch it again. I was like, what is happening? Like, I want to play this, whatever it is. So that looked really good.
Yeah, it was really fun to have the trailers mix it up so much with the art style. I mean, that's part of why I would almost recommend watching the whole show if you haven't yet.
You get that experience.
You won't get that experience from just watching one trailer or another trailer, but like that roller coaster being like, oh, like each of these things is standing out in a weird way was part of what made this so fun.
I'm sure most people watched the whole show. It had like millions of viewers on YouTube. It was unlike anything I've seen.
Yeah, no. The listener who maybe hasn't seen
that's
it.
true. Next up was NBA 2K21, which was the funniest trailer because it didn't show any actual basketball games, which is kind of fitting because there are no actual basketball games being played.
And that's actually what the game's going to be about.
You shoot hoops by yourself.
Just a guy playing by himself in a gym, like sweating.
Right, you try to manage your sweat flow.
Yeah, Zion Williamson is pretty incredible, though, I've got to say.
Yeah.
Next up was Bug Snacks, a game from the makers of Octodad that looked hysterical.
Yeah, it looked very fun. That was so Octodad, to anybody who didn't play it, you should play it. It's it's great and really ridiculous. That's like a fumble core game, so it's a game where you're an octopus pretending to be a man, and you have to like get through situations
where people will definitely figure out that you're an octopus and not a man, but it's just funny to imagine an octopus trying.
I think I reviewed this game for Kotaku. It's very, very funny because it's funny that no one realizes this extremely clear octopus is an octopus, but also it's funny because you're constantly fucking up. And this game, initially, I was like, what is this? But then it's clearly like, it's like not procedurally generated exactly, but it's like a really chaotic thing where you're eating things all the time and then becoming them and then becoming weird hybrid monsters of different things. And it's like some type of experience like that. And I'll play it just because I really liked Octodad and this looked cool.
Next up, this was definitely a highlight. This had been rumored for a long time. For a long time, Blue Point, which is a pretty good remaking company, they made the Shadow of the Colossus remake a couple years ago. People have been wondering what their next project was. They've been teasing it. Turns out it's Demon Souls, as has been rumored. I think I might have put a little bit of fuel on that fire. But yes, Demon Souls is their big remake that's coming to PS5. Really exciting because I think that a lot of people who are like into the From Software games started with Dark Souls and like didn't get a chance because Demon Souls was only on PS3. Some people have like gotten PS3 emulators just to play Demon Souls. But it's very smart that like they're remaking this game of all games because a lot of new players will want to check it out, myself included.
I'm right there with you. I played a fair amount of Demon Souls when it first came out because all the like smart critics were like, this is the best game ever. And I played it and it was too hard. I didn't fully get into the groove, and it is hard is the thing. Like it's a lot harder, I would say, than any of the Dark Souls games, and very punishing. And
well, you got to wonder if they're creating new options for a remake.
I wonder, and if it'll just like run better. It had a lot of serious performance problems, like comically bad. Even I know the first Dark Souls did too, but Demon Souls, like there are areas of that game that are just a total slideshow and are almost unplayable. So I'm sure that stuff will be ironed out, and I bet it'll just be like more playable. It'll be like a Souls game. It looked sick as hell. I mean, I was watching that. I was like, oh, this is some From shit. I was like, oh, okay, it's definitely Demon Souls. Nice.
I don't think they put a release date on that,
No.
So not clear if it'll be out at launch or like close to launch. Not sure yet. I noticed there are a lot of games like didn't have release dates, and I imagine the biggest reason for that is COVID, because nobody's really clear on like when they're going to hit their milestones.
Yeah.
But we shall see. Next, Arcane's game Deathloop, which they also announced last year. This is Arcane Lyon, so these are the people who made Dishonored 2, as opposed to Arcane Austin, which made Prey. Deathloop, I thought was like one of my highlights of E3 last year. I don't know if you guys remember it. That's when it was announced.
Same. I was so excited it was back. Yeah, I've been thinking like periodically, like what's going on with Deathloop? When are we going to see that again? So I was like very pumped to see it again.
Yeah, so it was really cool to see gameplay. It looks awesome. I thought it looks really, really cool. Kind of like it looks kind of inspired by BioShock in this, but I guess that's in the same sense that all these immersive sims are just from the same tree. But it looks like a game.
It had a kind of We Happy Few look. All the people in the party masks. Which is also very
BioShock Infinite people. But yeah, no, it looked really cool, and I'm very curious to see like how multiplayer is integrated because it seems like a single player game from the trailer. But I wonder if like another person.
Well, apparently the other players could hop in and play as the other spy who's trying to kill you periodically. So it's like Journey, but like you're trying to kill each other instead of help each other. So
or
like
Dark Souls.
It's a cat and mouse premise where like you're playing as a guy who's on the run from another spy and she's trying to kill you, or maybe not a spy, I don't know, another assassin, and like you're just trying to kill each other the whole time, and you're, I guess, video game characters who can be endlessly regenerated, so like her trying to kill you doesn't matter.
That's the theme of this showcase, is like endless regeneration.
Yeah, it super is. But the fact that like other people, like real people, can hop in and be the person that's trying to kill you from time to time, and you can do that to other people, sounds like a thing that people who enjoy Dark Souls will find very fun. And that's
this game,
cool.
So this game, yeah, I'm extremely here for it. It looks like Dishonored, but like, you know, a little more gun heavy. This was definitely the first trailer where I was like, guns, there they are. They're shooting people.
They're back.
But then again, it was like, I don't know, still kind of handmade weird ass guns, and the whole premise just seems cool. And I like the idea of building the time loop into the game, like having some rogue elements, even if it's not a roguelike, like those elements can enhance other kinds of games. And yeah, I think having played, it was Splinter Cell Conviction, that had co-op where you were like both spies, but then at the end you kind of got pitted against one another, and then there were actually like PvP modes where you'd be like sneaking around and trying to catch each other. I love that kind of multiplayer in general, and the idea of like knowing suddenly that you're being hunted by a real person. I'm sure you can turn it off. Like I'm guessing you can play it offline, but having that on would probably be pretty cool. And yeah, that game looked dope.
It's the AAA version of Chris Hacker's Spy Party.
Yeah, it's very similar. He kind of was designing that game before a bunch of like Ubisoft games basically used that same premise. And then like Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell and all these like asynchronous sort of stealth-based multiplayer games.
Next up, Capcom announced Resident Evil Village, which is the only way I will be describing this game from now on. Not Resident Evil 8, Resident Evil Village.
Or Resident Evil 8-inch. I feel like you could pronounce it that way if you want to.
What do you guys think? I have no investment in Resident Evil, so...
Resident Evil's gotten so freaking weird. I don't even know how to feel about that franchise anymore, honestly. It's gone so far off the rails in terms of like what that world is.
Didn't you guys love... I know Kirk at least loved 7.
I love Resident Evil 7. Well, I didn't. Yeah. I liked it. It kind of eventually, like a lot of those games, it gets pretty ridiculous and kind of lost me. But I loved the first, I don't know, however many hours of that game. Like a lot of it until you basically get to this ship and
the beginning's really cool.
Things change up.
Like from the perspective of like knowing about the world of Resident Evil, I'm just like, what is actually happening anymore?
Well,
and there is not really an answer, but maybe that's okay. Like it's almost like they got sick of their own premise and they're like, let's just make a bunch of different weird games that are like also horror games or survival games and just say they're Resident Evil and put Chris Redfield in them and say it's fine and that's okay, you know? Like be creative, Capcom. I'm all right with it.
Chris Redfield got some DLC for Resident Evil 7, which I believe sort of is setting up what's happening in Resident Evil 8. I don't know about that second part. I know he had DLC in Resi 7.
That guy has had a crazy life. Chris Redfield. He's done some wild shit.
I'm kind of the opposite where I've never played the early games. I don't really know the Resident Evil lore. Like I finally played Resident Evil 2.
But yeah.
No, but there is kind of a ton. Like there's not, it doesn't matter, but there is a lot. Like when you start to really get into Wesker and whoever in these characters, it's like
it doesn't matter, but there is a lot.
Yes.
Words that can be said about a lot of video game lore.
Right?
So the trailer for this, it was like sick looking like gothic castle village that looks like something out of Bloodborne and like 3 witches and like monsters and all the werewolves and shit. And I was like, yes, like gothic horror.
Yeah, like what is happening? Yeah.
European villa. And I was like, sweet, this looks great. Like I'm going to play the shit out of this. I can see there's going to be puzzles everywhere. There's like weird figures carved into the walls. And then at the end of the trailer, it's like, I'm Redfield. Chris Redfield. And I'm like, I don't care. Like maybe some people were like, yeah, Chris Redfield. Like,
I don't think anyone was. I think everyone was like, Chris Redfield with a million question marks.
Right.
And then Capcom announced another game that at first I thought was going to be a Kojima game because it looked exactly like Death Stranding. It
has extreme
very
Kojima
Death Stranding
energy.
vibe, yeah.
I gotta wonder if that's on like the same engine that Guerrilla Games Decima engine that just like makes all the characters looking cool.
The tech on that spacesuit was just so Death Stranding and it was so Horizon. Like it just had that.
But also the faces also like looked exactly like Death Stranding faces. But yeah, this game is called Pragmata and we really know nothing about it other than it's a new game, new IP from Capcom, which itself is pretty cool, coming in 2022.
I think anytime a game was 2022, that meant it'll be out in a long time. We basically aren't anywhere.
Don't worry about it.
But at least I like it. I like it when publishers are a little bit honest about that, as opposed to like in development now, like coming whenever. I like it when they're like, this won't be out for a couple of years. Don't worry about it. It's also cool. I mean, it's really cool when a big publisher shows new IP. Although I'd rather have them announce Phoenix Wright 7 than Pragmata than a new IP. But like whatever, I like new IP too.
Yeah. I had a thought that I meant to share way earlier when we were talking about Ratchet and Clank, and I'm going to share it now. And that is that watching Ratchet and Clank, where they're like teleporting stuff around and like switching dimensions, it struck me that I was watching gameplay that was in the like 2010 BioShock Infinite fake demo where like Elizabeth is warping things in from parallel dimensions and Songbird is there, then the game was nothing like that at all, and it was all like completely kind of ginned up. And it took 10 years, but now we're actually watching a real video game that can do it. So I didn't want to forget and not say that. And then Pragmata, who the fuck knows? It was like there was a point at which the sky broke and a huge satellite fell through it, and then the spaceman and the little girl like he opened a green net that like stopped the thing for a minute, and then he flew around it, and then he was on the moon with a little girl, and they were looking down at Earth. And that's what that game's going to be.
That's going to be weird and trippy.
Sure.
And then we got to what might be the most beautiful video game I've ever seen in my
You
life.
listen to the hype master over here.
I don't know. I saw that. I was kind of blown away by that trailer, especially
cool.
if that's
It
like
did look
really
really
what
cool.
the game is going to look like. Horizon 2 Forbidden West. So I guess the first game was where? Utah or like Nevada or something like that?
Colorado, Utah. I
Colorado,
believe.
around there,
Yeah.
right? And then it went north for the DLC.
So she's going to cross the Rockies.
And so this game is going to go to the west. And yeah, so they showed some San Francisco for
Yeah,
sure.
I
It's like a
saw
West Coast game. And so it's now set in the post-apocalyptic America, West Coast. Aloy's back. What's his name? The Lance Reddick character is back. Cyrus?
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds right.
And
You got to go underwater and fight robot alligators.
Yeah, fight robots underwater. Man, it just looked incredible. And Horizon Zero Dawn is an excellent game. People who missed it will get to play it on PC pretty soon, I think. I'm excited to check it out on PC again, too. And the thought of a sequel has me extremely excited.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this, I think, with both of you, but not on the show, that I'm just like in the mood for a Ubisoft-style open world game.
Yeah.
And that very much is
Well,
that
you're about to
kind
get
of
a
game.
few.
No, right, I know, which is nice. And
Ghost of
and
Tsushima is like right up your alley, and that's coming out in a month.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious to. I guess I don't want to know more about the story of Horizon 2, even though I'll be surprised if they can pull the story off the way they did in the first game again in a sequel. Only because the first game
and
really
it's going to be a
had
trilogy too. I don't know if you knew that, but they've agreed to do 3 games.
Well, maybe that'll let them kind of pace things out in a way that works.
Maddie, you have not played Zero Dawn, right?
That's right.
But you're going to play it when it comes to
play
PC?
I guess I could play it, and maybe
cool
we can all
game.
play it, and we can talk about it, and that'd be fun. But you two have already
maybe.
played
Yeah,
it.
well, I'm definitely going to be playing it again on PC because that game is awesome. And it's one of the faults that I had with it is that on the PS4 the text is so small you have to like squint and get up close to read it. As is often the case. So playing it on a
I think
computer monitor.
that's your complaint with most games, right, Jason?
Well, most
It really
games
is.
have text that's
I mean,
too
it's
small.
true.
I
It's
agree.
it's a real
Wait, no, it's not you. It's the games. It's just funny that it's always that problem.
So playing it on my computer monitor, I will very much enjoy. And yeah, I'm excited to play it again. I've been craving, I've been wanting to play that game again. Yeah, the story, the thing that pleasantly surprised myself and a lot of other people is how good the story was in that game, in the original game. And also, I mean, yeah, Ashley Birch puts on this fantastic performance as Aloy.
she's
Oh
really
yeah,
great.
she's always great.
Really, really good game. So yeah, the thought of a sequel coming soon, not entirely unexpected. I think most people could have guessed that was going to be there, as opposed to like a new God of War or Spider-Man 2, which are both way further out, I think.
Sure.
But but yeah, Horizon 2, very exciting stuff. And that was all. And then we ended with a whole bunch of developers talking about the
on a
console.
Zoom call.
That was interesting. And then a look at the PlayStation 5. And there was
That's
actually a
right.
pretty big piece of news in there, which is that there's going to be a digital only,
Right.
presumably cheaper version of the PlayStation 5. So I imagine, if I had to guess, and I think this is a pretty safe guess, the main thing, the normal thing will cost $500, and then the digital only version will cost $450, which is more appealing. If they can get that down to $400, that would be pretty game changing, but I don't think they will. And yeah, what'd you guys think of like the look of the thing? It looks pretty alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did you think, Maddie?
I don't know. I didn't love it. It really looked like a console that I'm going to be kind of embarrassed to also have on my shelf, but that's true of a lot of items that I own. And being a gamer, I'm sitting in my gaming chair. I gotta just embrace the gamer look of some of these items and just be like, all right. That's what that looks like, I guess.
You're not even going to think about it. Like when you actually play the thing, you're just not going to think about it.
Oh, I know. It's going to look silly to me for like 6 days, and then
Right.
I'm not even going to notice it anymore.
I'm curious if they'll all be white. I don't want a big white console. I'd
Yeah, it's
rather
white.
just-
I think it might be the
white
first
and-
white console since the Wii. Is that right? I don't know.
I'm trying to think.
Usually they're black.
Well, there have been different versions.
Right.
Oh,
of
sure,
course.
but like where the default one that they reveal.
The default one. Yeah.
Was the Xbox One the original one white?
Or the Xbox
No.
360, I assume, is what you're.
Oh, the
No,
Xbox
the Xbox
360 was, yes.
Yeah.
I believe the original Xbox 360 was with the green button. It was like off
Yeah,
white.
I guess the original was that big gray.
What
thing.
if a console was just like a color? Like, what if a console was like green or
Blue,
something?
Yeah, that'd be
Or like
funny.
red.
would be
I don't
It
know.
would look like in one of those old MacBooks
Yeah.
or iMacs.
Yeah.
Just like totally 2007 style.
Yeah, that would really mess with people's heads.
Yeah, I wonder if you can lay this on its side. I hope. that
Apparently you can. Like, there's
Okay.
some pictures people been
Yeah,
posting
you
about
can.
that. It
Okay,
looks
good.
really weird when it's laying on its side, but it looks pretty weird either way.
But again, like, who cares? What
Yeah, it
looks
doesn't
like?
matter.
That's
The main thing
ultimately-
I want from this console is that it not sound like a jet engine like my PS4 and PS4
We'll
Pro,
see.
and that it doesn't
We'll see.
like that it doesn't literally heat the room that I'm in like a space heater when it's
Well,
running.
if you're leaping around and Ratchet and Clank or whatever,
That's true. There's a lot of
things
processing
are
going
moving
on.
in that
Yes.
box. Who knows
Yeah.
what it's going to sound like?
That's very
Um,
true.
Yeah, man. So pretty good event overall, I would say. And then so the next big thing will be Microsoft. Well, there are a few different like indie events, and like EA has a press conference and stuff. But the next big next gen thing will be that Microsoft is going to hold their own big like first party, presumably third party also game conference in July, where they're going to talk about all their first party games, and that'll also be very interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what they have to kind of combat Sony's showing, because Microsoft's, I mean, Sony's big kind of win in the PS4 era was that their first party lineup was a lot better than Microsoft's, but Microsoft has been buying up studios to try to change that, and they've been greenlighting a whole bunch of things. So
That'll
it'll
be exciting.
cool to see what they do.
I'm looking forward to that and to the Ubisoft thing just because I want to see
Yeah,
what
Ubisoft
the
thing will
old
be
Ubi
cool.
has been up to. And then,
Well, we haven't seen Valhalla gameplay yet. That's
yeah, and I
exciting.
just
Yes!
want to, I mean, it's going to be Assassin's Creed Vikings. Like, I can picture it, but I still want to see it.
Yeah, I was fun story real quick before, and then I'll let you go. But fun story,
Yeah.
I was just on the phone with a Ubisoft PR person a couple of weeks ago, like, because when I started at Bloomberg, I just wanted to reach out and say hi, and I was like, by the way, like, you might not know this, but the three of us on my Triple Click podcast, my podcast Triple Click, are like all obsessed with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I like cannot wait for Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
It's true.
It was cute.
It's
It was
just
adorable.
true.
That's funny. So I guess the question I would have if I were a listener right now, and it is a question that I also have because I haven't been paying close attention, is when is Nintendo going to do something, or is Nintendo going
Good
to do
question.
something
It's a good question.
to kind of match all these summer?
Yeah, that is a good question.
There'll be a
Well-
direct, right, at some point, maybe a super direct.
So I think they announced Paper Mario out of the blue. That's the type of thing you would expect in like a summer direct. It might be, I think Nintendo is the type of company that will not announce something unless they are like 100% sure it will be like, it can be out on that date, because they hate slipping so much,
Right.
except for like the big franchises, the Zeldas and stuff, which they'll sometimes announce pretty far out.
Despite the Miyamoto quote.
Yeah, no, but I think as far as their like public presentations,
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be surprised to see them just like wait until they're 100% sure that COVID stuff isn't delaying the
I
biggest
see.
stuff. But yeah, remember there were rumors about like their whole big Super Mario compilations and all that stuff coming later this year, so I'm sure they'll announce it at some point. But yeah, I don't know if they like are going to do a direct or what. No idea.
I hope they do.
Yeah, me
I
too.
like this. I like these
it'd be
game
fun.
announcements. It's fun.
But yeah,
Exactly.
but the big lingering question, and I think maybe the most important question of like the holiday season, is how much is this thing gonna cost? And yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, looking at that when they're like, check it out, like 2 different issues, and then they're like charging thing, camera, like remote. I was like, fuck, I'm looking at like that's probably about $900,000 worth of shit there. I was just
Yeah.
like, this is gonna get really expensive.
So here is where we get into kind of interesting strategy. And I say this as someone who I think console wars are kind of nonsense in terms of like fans, but in terms of looking at what Sony and Microsoft are doing, there's some interesting stuff here, because it's interesting to see both of them not want to reveal price until the other one reveals price. And it'll be really,
You go.
really interesting to see
There you go.
like who goes first, and then if the other one undercuts them by like even a little bit.
There are 2 people at a stop sign in Portland. There.
Really, seriously, like I think that the main reason Xbox One got a tanked compared to the PS4 is because the PS4 was $100 cheaper, and nobody wanted to like spend an extra $100 on Connect.
That was
And
certainly a big part of it.
I think the story will be similar. I mean, or at least the story will be interesting this fall, because it'll be interesting to see if like PS5 has better games or more exclusive games, but costs a little more than Xbox Series X. I'm very curious to see what happens. I
Yeah, me
expect that
too.
both will be like $500, but it'll be interesting to see if like Microsoft is like, no, we're going to be $450 when you're $500 or something.
Or
like
if Microsoft like also just offers multiple versions, and it seems like they're leaning so much on backwards compatibility and like Game Pass stuff in their marketing so far, and like even saying stuff like it's chill if you don't even upgrade this time around. We're Microsoft and we're totally fine with it if you're broke right now. Like that's a lot of their messaging right now, which is kind of interesting given the time period we're in with COVID and everything. So yeah, I think they're trying to frame themselves as the accessible console, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, but we'll talk more about that later on when they announce all their stuff, because it makes me wonder.
Yeah,
like,
we're missing some crucial information.
Totally.
Well, I just wonder why they're even doing this, like Series X, when you can get all those same games on Xbox One or on PC. Like a lot of it doesn't really make sense to me, but that's something we can discuss when they actually announce those games and like talk more about their overall strategy. Yeah, maybe it'll make more sense. Price is going to be the big question, and we will see what they do there. I also think PlayStation still has some stuff left to announce. They haven't announced all their games. I don't know if they've announced all their games for launch. I'm sure a lot of that is like in flux.
I mean, they haven't announced Knack 3, so like
that's true. That is true.
Clearly, they still have some tricks up their sleeve.
But I imagine that like around September or August or like around entering the fall, I think we'll see another big event that is like price, full release lineup, and like other nitty gritty stuff that you want to know about a console. We still haven't seen the OS and like what they're doing with that stuff. I've heard that they have some crazy things in the works, although who knows how much of that will actually make it in the console. I heard that like some of it might not. Who knows? But yeah, it's a lot of questions remaining. But really cool showing, I think.
Yeah, and it's good to lead with games. Like I'm into OS stuff, but they always demo a bunch of features that then nobody uses, and I'm like, does it have party chat? Can I play cool games on it? Okay. That's all I need.
Yes, agreed. Although I don't know, I've thought about like what kinds of like extraneous features would I actually care about, and yeah, sometimes the answer is just like no.
I guess the one thing is suspending multiple games and coming right back to them.
That is cool.
Which I gather is probably going to be a thing. That
does
would be nice.
Netflix work on launch day? The real question.
That's
sort of a big question.
It is though. It is.
And then backwards compatibility, and like will you have to buy The Last of Us 2 again on your PS5 to play it on PS5? Like that's another big lingering question.
Oh, that had better not be the case. That seems well. We'll see. I guess.
Or especially like Cyberpunk games that are coming this fall that clearly will have next gen version. The Avengers. Like what are they going to do with that stuff? So yeah, lots of questions lingering, but yeah, cool stuff. All right,
fun show.
That is it for this bonus episode. We will see you all next week. Kirk, Maddy, goodbye.
All right, see you both next week.
Bye.
Triple Click is produced by Jason Schreier, Maddy Myers, and me, Kirk Hamilton. I edit and mix the show and also wrote our theme music. Our show art is by Tom DJ. Triple Click is a proud member of the Maximum Fun Podcast Network, and if you like our show, we hope you'll head over to MaximumFun.org/join and consider becoming a member. Doing so helps support us and gets you access to an exclusive Triple Click episode each month. Find us online at tripleclickpodcast.com, on Twitter at tripleclickpod, and send email to tripleclick@maximumfun.org. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.